I'm Aaron Fawn, and I'm on a trip for life.
I believe our future depends powerfully on how well we understand this cosmos, in which we float like a mote of dust in the morning sky.
Today I'm at Calder Dairy, an innovative dairy in Southeastern Michigan. They do things a little differently. Come on, let's check out this place. Now, I say that this place is innovative. Sometimes innovation comes with not progressing and not going with the crowd. A great example is glass bottles. Calder Dairy has never stopped using glass bottles, unlike most dairies in the nation. And there are good reasons for this. They believe that it's an environmentally responsible solution because, unlike plastic bottles, which even if you recycle them, at best you can get 20 to 30% of that content back into plastic bottles, with glass bottles, you can reuse them hundreds of times. And when you do recycle them, you can recycle them completely, which is a great advantage. In addition to that, there's a lot of worries these days about the chemicals in plastics. Well, there's nothing going to leach into the milk from glass, so it's a good solution in that regard as well. The Calder Brothers Dairy might be a small dairy, but that doesn't mean that they aren't a full-service dairy. You can get your butter, your chocolate milk, their delicious eggnog, and, in fact, some things that are hard to find elsewhere, like this natural milk. This natural milk has not been homogenized, and as a result, the fat separates and it affects the texture and the flavor of the milk in ways that you might find surprising. But even their homogenized milk is delicious and unique, and the reason for that is, well, scale. When you drink milk from the Calder Dairy, at most you're drinking milk that's been averaged out from a couple hundred cows. When you drink milk from a larger national dairy, that milk may have been averaged out over tens of thousands of cows, perhaps even millions of cows. As a result, it becomes kind of bland. The flavors very much even themselves out across all of the different cows that have contributed to that milk. Here, on the other hand, you can actually taste when they transition from the grass feed to the grain feed because, well, the milk tastes different. And that's the great thing about the Calder Dairy. It's sort of artisanal milk that is natural and from its source. One of the great things about the Calder Dairy, and other small dairies like it, is that they're very accessible. Most of them have no problem with their customers paying them a visit. At the Calder Dairy, the farm is a destination. The visit is well worth the trip. In addition to visiting the obviously happy and well cared for calves and heifers, you can see the cows being milked in a gallery designed specifically for that purpose. Oh, what's the difference between a heifer and a cow? Heifers have yet to give birth to their first calf, and thus they don't produce milk. But the Calder farm isn't just about the cows. A wide range of free-range fowl call the farm home. They have ducks and geese, some cute and well-behaved chickens, and a surprisingly large and beautiful flock of peacocks. If anything, the peacocks say a lot about the character of the farm. The Calder Dairy Farm is willing to do some things for reasons besides profits. Other than eating some bugs, the peacocks don't really serve a function on the farm, but their presence adds whimsy and charm to a place that is already full of it. Many of the animals that they care for are rescue animals, and all of them are excellently trained, leading to a petting zoo kind of atmosphere for the kids. The pygmy goats in particular are very cute and well behaved, and since they're allowed to roam, they can help keep down the weeds without using gas to run a brush mower. You know, I'm very familiar with modern agriculture, but I realize that my viewers may not be. At this point, you may be asking yourself what's so strange about the Calder Dairy Farm. It looks just like a farm. Well, it's funny, but the Calder Dairy is so old-fashioned that it still looks like a farm. This might seem to be a strange statement to make, but that's only because most people perceive farms as they once were, not as they are. A more conventional modern cattle operation looks more like this. Sort of nightmarish, isn't it? And it really is sort of a modern nightmare, driven by greed to cut pennies everywhere possible. Not only are the conditions for the animals on many of these farms abysmal, but I can't imagine that working in such a place would be much fun either. The employees at the Calder Dairy seem to be very happy to work there. Actually, I'm not just assuming this. I have testimony to that effect. So, what's it like working at Calder Dairy? How do you like it?
I love it. I love animals. I love everything about this. I love animals. Taking care of them is one of the funnest jobs I've ever had.
So how long have you been working here?
Almost 3 years.
The animal husbandry methods that the Calder Dairy uses are more or less an intensive organic management method. That is to say that they don't use hormones or intensive antibiotics to keep their herds healthy, but rather focus upon cleanliness and good nutrition. In particular, Calder doesn't use recombinant bovine growth hormone, or RBGH, on their cows, nor have they ever done so. Now, RBGH's impact upon human health is not entirely clear, though this may be more of an issue of captive regulators than any actual scientific difficulty. What is not in dispute is that RBGH is terrible for the health of the cow. Cows supplemented with artificial hormones do indeed produce milk at a high rate, but they also suffer from terrible udder infections that can introduce pus into the milk, and they die much younger. These chronic infections also require the use of lots of antibiotics, which encourages the evolution of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. You can be sure that your milk was not produced with artificial hormones if you just buy organic milk, but this is at best a good first step. Moving on to a smaller local dairy has lots of other extra benefits for the community and the environment. It's probably for the best that you don't get hung up on the organic certification at all. In fact, the Calder Dairy farm is not technically classified as an organic farm because they use some selected chemicals on their forage fields. This has little effect upon the environmental impact of the farm. They could easily achieve organic certification if they didn't take the time to produce their own forage, but that step would negatively impact the holistic nature of the farm, even if it would satisfy the organic certifications. So, what is the effect of these practices upon the cows themselves at small dairies like the Calder Dairy? Unlike a conventional high-intensity farm, which relies upon hormones and lots of antibiotics, cows at a farm like the Calder Dairy live much longer, as many as 5 to 6 lactating cycles compared to 2 cycles or less, and they produce more milk in that lifetime, albeit at a slower pace. In general, cows on smaller farms produce far less atmospheric methane due to the fact that they can do without the enormous sewage lagoons prevalent on factory farms. In the case of the Calder Dairy, this is especially the case since they produce much of their own forage, and thus they can make use of the manure appropriately without incurring large transportation costs. I asked the general manager of the dairy operation, Nicola Noble, a few questions expanding upon how the dairy is run. I'm glad you could join me on the trip to life. This is a beautiful dairy you have here. And I have to compliment you on what you're doing here in a lot of ways. I have some questions. First off, why is it that you continue to use glass bottles when most others in the industry have transitioned over to plastic at this point?
It's unique, but it's also very environmentally friendly. We recycle all our bottles. They go back to the plant and get washed and reused and then recycled back through again.
It looks like you're going through an expansion right now. Is that because demand is just that great? What exactly are you doing over there with the new barn?
Demand has grown. It's pretty unique for us in this economy. We are putting up a new heifer barn, which is basically to house the young female animals before they have their first baby. So we'll be putting a lot of the young girls in there, and then once they're pregnant and close to calving, they'll be removed from that barn and put into a barn that's closer to the main facility so we can keep an eye on them.
Now, you call them the girls, and I see that you have a very personal relationship with the cows here on the farm. Is there anything specific and different about the way you handle the cows here compared to a conventional dairy operation?
All the girls have names. They're not just numbers. So you might see Lori, Pamela, Sarah. They're all different names that we use. Sometimes we use some humor when we name them, and maybe they're named after an auto manufacturer or a beverage. Whatever comes up that day, they get their names. We do it in a unique way. If Lori has a calf, then her daughter's name will start with an L. So it could be Lisa or Lexi, and so on and so forth. And that way we have a little bit of a family tree going, and we can say, oh, Lexi out of Lori. You know, we always have favorites too, so we're just trying to pick extra special names for our favorites.
Now, one thing that sets this place apart in my mind, having been on many farms in my life, is the smell. This is something that you at home really can't get very well, but this farm doesn't smell that bad. It still smells of cows, of course, but it doesn't have that stench that often accompanies manure and other farm animals. So how is it you keep the smell down, and how is it that you keep this place nice and clean?
We work hard at keeping it clean. We make sure the grounds are taken care of. I do think that the odor you're not smelling today is because it's so cold. We do try really hard, though, to keep everything nice and clean. So it is a friendly place for people to come to, especially people who are from the city and have never been exposed to those aromas of the country.
This is a very green and sustainable farm, the way that you have things set up here. But I noticed that you're not certified organic. Why is that?
Basically, in Michigan, it's a little difficult to be organic because of our climate and our weather and humidity and so on. But the other reason is that we do grow all our own crops. around this area. But as you saw, there's a lot of encroaching homes, 10-acre parcels, and it's taking up the farmland. So basically what we have to do is maximize the usage of the area we have for production. It's just like your veggie garden. If you don't use a little bit of an herbicide on there, your weeds are going to take over. And weeds are going to take the nutrient out of the soil, so the corn is not going to be able to grow as well, and hay, beans, and so on. So we do use a small amount just to make sure we get good production so we can feed the cows through the year. The stuff we buy is basically on the level of what you can buy at Lowe's or your garden center. So it's not, you know, very strong, just enough.
And an important part of the use of chemicals is the responsible use of those chemicals.
Exactly.
That's very good.
Yes.
I do notice, however, that there are some things that are not in the milk that are in more conventional dairies. For instance, hormones. Do you want to talk about that any?
The RBST, we never did use it. We'd rather take good care of the cows, feed them well, house them well, watch out for their health, and produce milk like that. California may have happy cows, but Michigan does too.
Well, indeed, they are healthy, happy cows. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The Calder Brothers Dairy serves many of the local markets in the Ann Arbor area with their delicious dairy goods. But the Trip for Life has viewers all over the world. That is, if I'm to trust the YouTube analytics. So if you're not in Southeastern Michigan and you want some Calder milk, what should you do? Well, you're out of luck. It's a local dairy. But that's the point, isn't it? And the benefits of buying from a local dairy go beyond the better flavor and the reduced environmental impact to the economy, too.
A farm of this size employs more people per cow than a much larger farm. And if we could support farms like this, then we can employ a lot more people in high-quality jobs that are fulfilling and that are actually producing goods that are useful for the people here in the country.
If you want fresh dairy that gainfully employs a lot of people, tastes delicious, and has a minimal impact upon the environment, then you need to find a dairy like the Calders in your own area. This is a growing farming segment because people are becoming more aware of the impact of factory dairy on the environment and our health. Most local dairies have family names, like the Duncan Dairy Farm in New York or the Strauss Family Creamery in Arizona and California, because most farms of this type are, in fact, family farms. Large national retailers like Walmart have, following public demands, given the boot to RBGH milk, but they have yet to make an effort to stock products from local, small dairies. Your best bet for finding some, besides researching the dairies themselves since they know where their milk is sold, is to visit a regional supermarket. Around here, local groceries like Bush's and Plum Market both stock Calder milk. Typing in your locality and phrases like small dairy or organic dairy in Google or another search engine is a good start, but it's only the beginning. Once you've found a good local dairy and places to purchase their products, the next critical step is paying them a visit. If they are, in fact, doing things right, then they will welcome you into their farm and give you a tour.
So, if you have the opportunity, I strongly suggest you change over to local farms and local dairies, like Calder Dairy. Trust me, you'll be able to see the difference.
The sky calls to us. If we do not destroy ourselves, we will one day venture to the stars.
Hello everyone. If you've been enjoying watching The Trip for Life as much as I've been enjoying making it, then please go to my website at www.thetripforlife.com and make a contribution or become a member. In either case, you'll be helping to support this experiment in citizen journalism. The Trip for Life is 100% viewer supported, so you'll never see any corporate slant to my reporting, but at the same time, I'm depending on you to keep everything going. And as for those that have already contributed, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Nick Gervais. Thanks, Paul Anderson. Thanks to my parents and my Uncle Jeff and my friends here in Ann Arbor, Mark and Patrick. Without you guys, I couldn't have done this, so thank you so very much. And for my viewers, I hope you have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, a fruitful Kwanzaa, a festive Festivus, and a solemn solstice, whatever you might be celebrating. Happy holidays, everyone.